Okay, today we're looking at scatter plots once more. Our standard is 8.sp.2. Know that straight lines are widely used to model relationships between two quantitative variables. For scatter plots that suggest a linear association, informally fit a straight line and informally assess the model fit by judging the closeness of the data points to the line. Your objective for today is I can determine the line of best fit using scatter plots. The sub-objective is know how to plot points on a graph, know how to draw a line through the center of the data points, determine the slope and y-intercept of a line of best fit, and write an equation using slope and y-intercept. Scatter plots and trend lines. When a scatter plot demonstrates a linear relationship, a straight line can be used to show the general pattern of the data. A trend line or line of best fit is a straight line that should lie as close as possible to the points of data in the scatter plot. Okay, let's look at 1 through 4 here and write yes or no to describe whether or not the line is a good trend line, and then we're going to explain it, yes or no. Okay, so for number 1, this is obviously not going to be a good trend line because as we said here, that you have to have a straight line and it has to go through as many points as possible. And as you can tell, this line here it just goes through these points right here. You want your line to go through as many points as possible. So this is not a good trend line. So we're going to say no. And we're going to say no because the scatter plot is positive, but the trend line is negative. So the scatter plot is positive, and the trend line is also called the line of best fit, is negative. Okay, I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to go ahead and finish writing that down, or you can pause the video to finish writing it down. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and erase it. So let's look at number 2. We have looks like a negative association because as you see, my x is increasing and my y is also decreasing, or is decreasing, so therefore this is going to be a negative association. I think I said positive, I'm sorry, but it is a negative association. And yes, this is a good trend line. It is a good trend line because as you can see, this line fits through most of the data points. So the data points are close together and it fits the data points. So yes. Number 3, we have a negative association, but even though it's negative and the trend line is negative as well, the trend line does not fit through the data points. You want the trend line to go through as many data points as possible, so it should technically go through here. So the answer to this one is no. The trend line is above most of the data points. So we're going to say above most. And finally, number 4, yes, this is a positive association, and the trend line is also positive, but the trend line is below most of the data points, so I'm going to say no. And the trend line is below data points. We want the trend line to go through the center of the data points as much as possible. Okay, so writing equations of trend lines. So choose any 2 points on the trend line and set up a ratio of rise over run to find the slope of the line, or M, and we all know that M stands for slope. Number 2, look at the y-axis to find the y-intercept, or the line, or B. B in your equation stands for the y-intercept. Use these to write an equation in slope-intercept form. And M stands for slope, and then B stands for the y-intercept, so it is y equals mx plus b. So this is slope, and this is your y-intercept. And remember, your slope is telling you how much something is changing, and your y-intercept is telling you where you're starting. It's your big starting point. So let's look at number 5, and it says write an equation in slope-intercept form for each trend line below. Okay, well, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my points, okay, and I'm going to determine whether the slope is positive or negative. And I can see that it is positive, and I can see that it goes through most of the data points. So I'm going to find 2 places on my line where my line is actually intersecting, and I'm going to start here at 8 and then here. So I have 2 points where my line is intersecting, and they're not necessarily data points, but it's a point where that the line is intersecting, where, because you want the line to always intersect through this center point here. Okay, so if we're going to do a rise over run, and because this is negative, I can either fall or so I'm going to fall down. So I'm going to fall from 8 to 7, and that means I'm going to go down 1. So I'm going down 1 place. So I'm going down on my Y 1, and I'm running from 0 to 3. So I'm running. I'm going this way from 0 to 3. So I'm going down 3. So that gives me a slope of 1/3, and because it's a negative trend line, it's going to be negative 1/3. So it gives me y equals negative 1/3 x. And then my y-intercept is where my line started. And my line started right here at 8. So that means it's going to be plus 8. So y equals negative 1/3 x plus 8. And number 6. So we have a positive trend line and a positive correlation. I'm going to pick 2 points on the line. So it looks like I have a point, and it's going to start here, and here is the next point. So I'm going to rise from 100 to right between 100 and 150, which would be 125. So I'm going to go up 25. So I'm rising 25. And I'm going to run from 0 to 2. So I have 25 over 2. Okay? Well, if I go ahead and reduce that, I get 12.5. Okay? You can reduce it in your calculator and divide 2 into 25, and it gives you 12.5. So that gives me y equals 12.5. And I know that normally we talk about slope not being, that it always being in a fraction, but here, because of the way that we're looking at the trend lines, we can put it in a decimal form. That's okay as well. So just know that you can do that. So it's 12.5x, and my starting point was at 100, so my y-intercept is going to be 100. So y equals 12.5x plus 100. So number 7 looks like we're going to have a negative a negative slope, and I'm going to pick 2 points once again, and I'm going to pick this point here And the next point that my line is intersecting is right here. And just remember that your points you're not necessarily looking at points on the line. You're looking at where the line is intersecting on the graph to determine your best fit, because this is approximation. It's not exact. So you're going to fall from 45 to 35. So you're falling. So that's going to give you 35 down. I'm sorry, you're actually going down 10, because you're going from 45 to 35, so you're going down 10. And you're going over from 0 to 1, and that gives you 1. So your line of best fit is going to be y equals negative 10x, and your y-intercept was 45 plus 45. Okay, so let's look at number 8. To find the slope of the trend line below, Riley chose the points 1 and 80 and 2 and 30. So A, explain whether the points she chose will help her write the correct equation of the line. So let's go ahead and plot, let's look at the points that she chose. So she chose 1 and 80, which is right here. And she chose 2 and 30, which is right here. Okay. So we need to explain whether the points she chose will help her write the correct equation of the line. No, this will not help her write the correct equation of the line. So no, because the points of the data are not on the trend line. Of the data are not on the trend line. B, find the equation of the trend line. Okay, well, let's find the equation of the trend line. So I'm going to erase the points that I have put it here. Okay, so I'm going to find 2 points that the line intersects. So I'm going to start here. Obviously, it's easiest to start with your y-intercept. So I'm going to start here at 90 with my y-intercept. So I can even say right here that my B, which is my y-intercept, is 90. And I'm going to write M right here, because that's my slope. So looks like the next place the line intersects is here. So I'm going to go from 90 to 70. So I'm going to go down 20. So I'm going down from 90 to 70, and that's 20. And it's a negative because it's going down. And then I'm going over from 0 to 1. So that's 1. So my trend line would obviously be y equals negative 20x plus 90, because 90 was my y-intercept where it started. Okay, and make sure you're not just counting by ones. Make sure you look at the numbers on the side over here to make sure that you count down by those. So, for example, this is going down by 10, so you would have to count down by tens. Okay. Okay, so let's look at number 9. It says, which of the following scatter plots could have a trend line with an equation of y equals 2x plus 5? And then explain your choice. Okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each one here. And I know that my M has to be 2x and my B has to be 5. I know that I have a positive slope, so that means I have to have a positive association. Okay, so A looks like it is in a negative association, so A is out because that's a negative association. B, okay, so B is positive, it's a positive association, so if I drew my line starting from here to the center of the data, it looks like that my y-intercept is right here, so that would be a y-intercept of 0. Okay, so we know that B can't be correct because it has a y-intercept of 0, and my y-intercept needs to be 5. So B is out. I can look at D and tell that it's out because it is a negative slope, so that's out. So that leaves me with C. So let's just look at C and just make sure it's correct. So if I draw my line through here, well, my line is starting well off of the 0, so it is plausible that my y-intercept would be 5, and my points are pretty close together, and they're not making a drastic change. So I could say that it would be close that my slope could be 2. So I'm going to say C is my answer, and I'm going to write down here that scatter plot C would have both a positive slope and y-intercept. Okay, so number 10, Miss Hamilton surveyed some of her students by asking how many minutes they spent studying for their math test and the score they made on the math test. The results are shown below. So I have my scatter plot. I have X is minutes studied, Y is my test score. And my question says, well, actually, before I even answer my questions, I want to say that I have a positive association. So that means I'm going to have a positive slope. So let's see if we can answer the questions here. It says, A, what is the slope of the trend line? So once again, go ahead and pause the video for a second and see if you can't come up with the slope. Okay, so the slope is 2/3. And how I got 2/3 is I'm going to start with my point at 60. And I'm going to see where my line intersects at the next point, which would be here. And I'm going to say that my line goes, I'm going to rise up, just like Alexander Hamilton. I'm going to rise up. I'm going to rise from 60 to 80, and that is obviously from 60 to 80, so that would be 20. And I'm going to run from 0 to 30. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and reduce this down to get 2/3. 10 will go into both of them. 10 will go into 10 will go into 20 2 times, and 10 will go into 30 3 times. So that gives me a slope of 2/3. B, what does the slope mean in the context of the situation? So take a second and see if you can write out a situation and let us know what slope means. Okay, so slope means that the test scores increase, I'm just abbreviate increase, 2 points for every 3 minutes of studying. Okay, so C, what is the y-intercept of the trend line? So obviously, go ahead and stop and see if you can find the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is going to be 60 because that is where my line began, was at 60. D, what does the y-intercept mean in the context of the situation? Take a second and write down why what the meaning for the y-intercept. So the meaning for the y-intercept is a student. You can compare your answer to mine. A student who studied
I don't understand. Who studied
0 minutes scored 60 on the test. And C, write the equation and the trend line. Well, this is my slope and this is my y-intercept. I'm going to say y equals 2/3 x plus 60. Okay, so at this time I want you to go ahead and look at ScatterPlots and Trends and do problems 1 through 15.